Putin was killed by his own allies trying to use nuclear weapons to threaten the world. Update: Russia and Ukraine war. Putin is isolated and he is likely to be killed by the general himself if he tries to use nuclear weapons to threaten Western countries and world peace. Vladimir Putin and his allies have, in recent days, increased their nuclear threats against Ukraine and the West. However, any attempt to use weapons could lead to a collapse. Putin's fall, according to one expert. According to one expert, Putin will likely be killed by his own ally before he has a chance to launch a nuclear attack. Tensions are growing as Moscow begins mock referendums today, which will likely see large swaths of Ukraine annexed by Russia. Putin and his allies have spoken out about a series of thinly veiled threats against Ukraine and the West, claiming they could use nuclear weapons to defend the annexed territories. Illegal entry. However, experts say Putin is either lying or he doesn't understand the situation at his own peril. Professor Peter Duncan at UCL School of Slavonic and Eastern European Studies, SSES, told Express.co.uk that Putin is isolated from reality and will likely be killed before he can activate the particle core. Putin has made a series of mistakes since his invasion of Ukraine. He underestimated the will of the Ukrainian people to resist and the determination of NATO. Now he has called an unpopular mobilization that could threaten his position back home. Professor Duncan said, "The bottom line is that Putin is isolated from reality. He just doesn't understand Russia, what people think in Russia, or what people think abroad, or otherwise. Is everywhere. And that's why he makes one mistake after another." Part of this, according to Professor Duncan, is that Putin's security services and his allies are afraid of him, leading them to mislead him about the real situation in Ukraine, where Russia is in dire straits. However, Professor Duncan believes that at some point, when Russia and the world fail to turn around, Putin's so-called allies will step in and have him deposed. If Vladimir Putin calls for a nuclear strike either in Ukraine or in the West, he will have to go through his military commanders. Topping that list are Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces Valery Vasilyevich Gerasimov. I still think that if Putin starts using nuclear weapons, or if he actually tells Shoigu and Gerasimov to use nukes, not only deploy them but also where to use them, Duncan said. There in Ukraine, I think it's entirely possible that they will refuse and then they'll have to go against Putin and kill him, because they won't follow orders. It's not that easy to kill Putin. They have to ask the people in the FSB to help them kill Putin. He believes that the use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine would trigger a major conventional attack on Russian forces in the Black Sea or Ukraine region.